what's happening with the dollar? Let's take a look at all major currencies against the dollar to get an understanding of what may happen next. So you're looking here at euro versus the USD, and we're still in a downtrend. We did, of course, gain quite sharply from the lows here, gain with about 200 pip, and definitely a bit of a disappointment because we moved all the way up here, and all the gains that were based on this one was actually given back to the market. So for example, I was short myself here on a break here, and it went down, and then I had a quite tight stop loss here. So locked in some profits, but I was hoping for this to trade a bit lower. Now we're looking at this, and I actually been neutral over the last 2 days because it gained a bit much more than I thought it would be. So I continue to be neutral, but we started to be a bit of a rejection here, and of course we can go up a bit, but I would argue that we could potentially see this trade a little bit lower, but I'm not very confident in this outlook. I mean, for now, I mean, if it goes down, it's going to be interesting to see what happens when we are down here again. Are people going to push it sharply higher so we create an inverse head and shoulders? If we look at the GBP versus the USD, we can see here as well that we're dealing with a downtrend, but the price did actually break this level here. So now, at least in the short term, we're technically dealing with a short-term uptrend because we have a higher high and most likely a higher low here. We don't have it, so it's not 100% confirmed. So again, it's a bit of a challenge. If we look at things from a big picture perspective, then I would argue we're still bearish, and maybe up here we can sell a bit. The key point I think here is really for this to be up here, and the Euro USD as well, sort of to be near maybe 104.50 or so. If we look at other things, this is the Aussie dollar. So here I have been bearish for a couple of days, but it's not really working out. And we have a nice swing high here and another swing high here. And if we break here, I think it wouldn't be that too difficult. It wouldn't be too difficult to reach 72. And in the case of the New Zealand dollar versus the USD, we're in a similar situation with high, high, and high. So this, of course, is still technically a downtrend. We can still do this, but it looks to me that I'd rather do maybe like this and then upwards. Of course, for now, I am bearish. So what about the fundamental outlook? Well, the Fed is still very hawkish. Inflation is still high, not only in the US, but in the rest of the world. And these central bankers, they usually pick a path and then they stick to that path until, it becomes too much. So up until recently, that will be last year, they will be saying, oh, inflation is going to be short-term in nature, don't worry about it. But now it's the total opposite. Inflation is too high, which is true. And suddenly they want to raise interest rates, something they should have been doing possibly, well, last year. So now they're really pushing strong, even though we're starting to see weakness in stock markets and forward-looking indicators like the ISM, like if you try to forecast what that's going to be, are also not looking too good. And I do think we can have lower economic growth in the US in the coming months. So obviously inflation will at one point come down. And then you also have the problem with the fact that it's mostly energy prices. And there's not too much we can do about energy prices. And there's not too much we can do either about the Russia-Ukraine situation. So it's a bit tricky, but long story short, the Fed, I suspect, are going to continue to be aggressive. So from a fundamental point of view, I still think the dollar can strengthen. But from a technical point of view, looking how the New Zealand dollar reacts, looking how the Aussie dollar reacts, and as well just looking at the price action of something like Euro USD, I'm still a bit reluctant because again, maybe an inverse on the shoulders here, and then GBP versus USD, maybe push a little bit higher here. So I'm obviously keeping an eye on these markets, but I do suspect that maybe Monday next week or so is going to be much more clearer what's going to happen. Because if we just try to think ahead, if we have high here and then another high here, and it becomes like an interesting resistance level, then we can potentially short sell. The problem is this though, is that it could also turn into some sort of inverse head and shoulders, something that maybe is happening here in the euro versus the USD. Okay, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and don't forget to share.